Hi, this is Dan Smith, and today I want to address the word growth. Now, growth is a great thing. Had you never grown, you'd still be in diapers, you'd still be using a sippy cup. But here's a fantastic definition I found on Wikipedia. It says that growth refers to an increase in some quantity over time. Growth is a stage in the process of growing. It is a progression of something from a simpler form to a more complex form. And I thought, what a great definition. I love that line, an increase in some quantity over time. And a progression of something from a simpler form to a more complex form. We all need to grow, and sometimes growth can be very painful. It can be very hard. So I have a question for you. How are you growing today? Are you growing in anything, or has life become very stagnant for you? There's an old saying, here lies Joe, dead at 30, buried at 70. What happened to Joe? Did he literally die at 30? No, he didn't. But what did happen to Joe is this, the same thing that happens to a lot of us, and that is that Joe had goals as of the great life that he was going to live in his youth, and he dreamed of the fantastic life that he would have with his family. But what actually happened to Joe? Well, after he got through college, he got married, he bought a house, he took the first job that he could find, and he had a couple of kids and a dog, and he really got about the business of living. But by the age of about 30, which is where it generally happens, he was just hanging on, trying to make the house payment on time. His paycheck barely covered the expenses, with very little left over, and that great life that he dreamed of as a young person, shot. His yearly vacation, if you can call it that, consisted of camping in a tent. And if he does travel, he has to stay at relatives' houses in different cities so that he doesn't have to pay for a hotel room. His dream of living a great life then turned into a nightmare of get up, go to work, come home, have some dinner, watch TV, go to bed. Get up, go to work, come home, have dinner, watch TV, go to bed. But he does break up that routine because he mows the grass on Saturday. You know what? Joe hates his job. Even worse, he hates the boss that holds a paycheck over his head. Joe gets a stomachache every Sunday night at about 6 o'clock because he knows that the weekend is over and he has to go to back to work on Monday morning and do it all over again. And the weeks turn into months, which turn into years. And as Joe sees his dream slipping away, he settles into what we call a settle for life. That is where you just settle for whatever comes your way. You settle for the car that you can afford. You settle for the house that you can afford. You go to the restaurant that you can afford, and you settle for the meal that you can afford at that restaurant. The only difference between a grave and a rut is the length and the depth of the hole. And that is why the last line is so fantastic. A progression of something from a simpler form to a more complex form. Joe didn't have to stay in that predicament. He didn't have to stay in the predicament that he was in, but he chose to stay there because after years and years of doing the same thing, it became comfortable. And as a line in the Pink Floyd song, I have become comfortably numb, Joe has become comfortably numb in the process of living, and over time, he became frightened to do something different or anything out of the ordinary. Life wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. But, the fact that Joe had Joe been willing to step out away from the crowd and learn some new skills and to apply them, he could have changed himself from a simpler form to a more complex form of life. The fact that Joe could have changed the entire course of his life very easily had he had the internal motivation to change and to grow into a different person. You might be saying to me, wow, Dan, you know what? That's a great line of baloney you're spieling here, but how does that apply to me? Well, let me ask you a question, my friend. Are you, like Joe, living a life of quiet desperation, comfortably numb, like most people are? Or are you really living the life that you dreamed? Are you living your dreams? Are you looking for a way to go from a lower form of life to a higher form of life, but you've never been able to discover that yet? Well, my friend, that will take some growth. And you know what? It may be a little bit hard, and it may be a little uncomfortable, and it may stress you out a little bit. But you know what? I think it's worth it. So I invite you to check out my mastermind group, the mastermind team that I'm a part of, to learn how you can break out of a rut that you may be in, if you are, and to live the life that you dream to live on your terms. Want to tell your boss to take this job and shove it? Then click the link below. Enter your email address to unlock the mystery of leveraged income and how you can escape the rat race of the 9 to 5 or the corporate nightmare that you may be stuck in. Do you want to travel and stay at some of the nicest places in the world, or eat at a restaurant of your choice and not be bothered by the cost of the meal? How about just paying the house payment on time, or paying your cell phone bill on time before they shut the thing off? Then click on that link below right now. Enter your email address, watch the video, and learn how you can grow into a higher form of life and take action. This is Dan Smith wishing you a great day, because you know what? You truly do deserve it. I'll catch you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye for now.